We can do so in a matter of weeks.
Last night, she told Fox News the White House is looking at a national vaccine mandate. She later clarified on Twitter, saying that is not the case. More and more companies are mandating vaccines.
Disney and Walmart, two of America's largest employers, announcing that they are now going to be requiring their employees to be vaccinated. Now, over at Disney, all salaried and non-union hourly employees in the U.S. must be vaccinated. Workers who are working on site but are not yet vaccinated must do so within the next 60 days, and all new hires have to be fully vaccinated to begin their jobs.
Fox's Kevin Cork. In all corners of the country, mask mandates are returning. In New Orleans, an indoor mask mandate is being implemented regardless of vaccination status. In Dallas County, Texas, anyone entering a courthouse must be wearing a mask. The mandate was made despite Governor Greg Abbott's order to bar mask mandates statewide. If you live in the Denver area, you'll want to keep an eye on the weather since severe monsoon storms are forecast. In another part of the country, destructive weather left a mess behind.
The cleanup begins on the East Coast after severe weather damaged homes and prompted tornado warnings Thursday night. The storms knocking out power to thousands of people in New Jersey, Virginia, and Pennsylvania.
Fox's Mike Tobin. America's listening to Fox News.
Jason in the House, the Jason Chaffetz podcast. There is always someone doing something stupid somewhere. Dive deeper than the headlines and the party lines as I take on American life, politics, and entertainment. Join me, Jason Chaffetz, every Wednesday as I shed light on the news and make some predictions along the way. You never know who will drop in. Subscribe now on FoxNewsPodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts.
Connect to Fox News Audio and the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
Good Saturday morning. It will be a scorching weekend in central Georgia. We are yet again under another heat advisory for today. Feels like temperatures will rise above 105 degrees. Highs today will be in the mid to upper 90s. Scattered showers and storms are still possible this afternoon. For your full forecast, head to 13WMAZ.com. From the 13 WMAZ Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson.
The following program paid for by Rosenberg Financial Group. Providing live finance advice since 1993. It's time for Your Money with Steve Rosenberg, Sherri Goss, Randy Goss, and Becca Wilton. To participate in today's program, call 478-742-0940 with your financial questions and comments. And now, live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Good morning, Middle Georgia. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Good morning.
It changes when he hits that button. Sometimes it sounds like I have no sound. But anyways, Sherri Goss and Becca Wilton are here to take your phone calls, 478-742-0940. Or you can email us, Sherri, it's SHERRI, or Becca, BECCA, at rfmoney.com. If you have a question and you don't want to call in, which a lot of people tell me that. They really don't want to hear their voice on the radio. And so it's okay to call or to email us and let us know if you have a question. Before we get on with the show, I wanted to talk to you about something that, one of the things that I ask people when I meet with clients and prospects is, what are you concerned about? Because I want to know what you're worrying about, because it affects how you look at your money, and it affects how you think you should invest. And about half the people in the last 2 weeks have told me, more so this week than last, they're extremely concerned about this Delta variant. They're extremely concerned about the government shutting everything down again, shutting down the schools, shutting down their business, shutting down the stores. Some people are wearing masks again when they come to our office. And so I wanted to point out a couple of good articles that are on the Wall Street Journal this morning. The Wall Street Journal tends to stay in the middle of the road and doesn't go wild with crazy stories just to get your attention. They really try to do the news right.
Wow, that's a novel idea.
Yeah, so we have a subscription. I look at it I try to look at it every day because there is a lot of good information. But these 2 articles are particularly good. And I can forward them to you in an email if you want, because I downloaded them this morning to read them. So the first article is, maybe with Delta, the CDC will learn to count. In Britain, they know 92% of the public has antibodies. Here, we panic in the dark. And this is what I've been saying from the beginning. I still have the antibodies. I was sick the first week of January. I just had another blood test. I'm fully, prepared for this whole mess. Britain has seen its Delta surge wane rather quickly, and unlike the U.S., it is not flopping around in the half-dark about what's going on. Thanks to biweekly blood sample surveys, which I have been begging somebody here would do, the UK government knows how many people have antibodies from vaccination or infection. Thanks to surveys and modeling, it also has a good idea how many are currently infected, invariably a multiple of those who get a positive test. Of particular interest are the antibodies of younger Brits, a majority of whom until recent days had yet to be vaccinated. As of June 14th, 31% between the age of 16 and 24 reported receiving the vaccine, 60% tested positive for antibodies. So half of them didn't get the vaccine, but they have the antibodies. This is a big deal. For the record, 92% of Brits now show evidence of antibodies.
And like you said, they don't do regular testing. It's not really talked about here. And you've wanted to have tests done several times, and you kind of had to fight to get your antibody test.
I called my doctor. I called my doctor, and he's done it twice for free.
Okay.
And they said, just come by. You have to text him to get in the door because the door's locked because you can't go in the waiting room. And they said, just come by anytime, text us, we'll do it, and it costs me nothing. And they sent me the results. And I have the results if you want to see them.
She does have the antibodies.
I'm not lying. But anyways, in America, as for the antibody total that would tell us how near we are to herd immunity, forget it. Now you understand why this column has been hammering for a year on the idiocy of our reliance on confirmed cases. And the other piece of this that no one ever talks about is false positives. False positive tests are people that, like our doctor's office, they all had the antibodies and none of them ever had the vaccine. They work in healthcare, and this is very common for people that are around sick people all the time. So these are things that no one's talking about, and so they're inflating this and creating panic and fear, and it makes me pretty mad. So the second article is called The CDC's Delta Variant Panic. The CDC on Tuesday issued murky new guidance without backup evidence recommending that vaccinated people resume wearing masks indoors, in some cases because unpublished studies suggest they could transmit the virus. But on Thursday, the Washington Post ran an alarmist story on an internal CDC slide presentation that they got a hold of with the unpublished evidence, which triggered a media panic that could undermine vaccinations. Only on Friday afternoon did the agency release some of its evidence and offer a calmer explanation. What a fiasco. The CDC should be the source of fact and reason, not a hair-on-fire spreader of fear. The agency could start by explaining that COVID cases have been increasing across the U.S. and that more vaccinated individuals are testing positive, but most of these breakthrough cases are mild or asymptomatic. Nobody's talking about that. So if you're terrified and you want to read these articles, if you're really terrified, maybe it doesn't do any good, but it's not good to be in fear all the time. It's not healthy. People are worried about this. And then the secondary thing I'm hearing is people are worried about inflation, which we're not seeing. We're only seeing supply chain inflation. So I've been talking a lot about this stuff this week. And so if you have something that you're really concerned about, email either of us, or have a conversation with us over the phone, or make an appointment in our office, Warner Robins or Macon, and come and talk to us and show us how you're invested, because this absolutely affects human behavior. What you think is real is what you apply to your world, and it affects everything. What you do every day, how often you go outside. I mean, are you seeing people?
Are you traveling?
Yeah. I mean, I've met people that have never seen their new grandkids. The kid was born a year ago, and they still haven't seen him because they're terrified to go anywhere. This is not good.
I have a friend, and her husband doesn't travel hardly at all, and he's been vaccinated now, and he still doesn't want to go anywhere.
Right. It's just terrible. So anyways, come and see us. Come and talk to us. And the other thing I wanted to mention is if you have a part of a church or a business, we would love to come and do an educational program, a lunch and learn, or whatever you want on whatever topics you choose. I mean, we can make something out of wherever. So we could talk about this. We could talk about how fear impacts how you invest your money. And that would be a really good program, honestly. Anyways, take it away, Becca, on the next topic.
Oh, you had mentioned about Costco coming to Warner Robins, and our mayor had posted something, I think it was on Twitter, about them doing a request for real estate or some permits or something. And if we want to get Costco to Warner Robins, which I think that would be wonderful because I live in Perry and work in Warner Robins, so I only come to Macon usually once a week or so for the radio show. And so I love Sam's, but I've only been to Costco.
Costco is better.
I've been there like one time, and it was like Disney World. I wandered around.
What's different about it?
It just kind of compares to Target versus Walmart in my mind.
Really?
So it's just a little bit better, and they have like their whole line, you know, where there's Sam's Choice and Great Value. There's, I think it's like Kirkland or something. So their brands are just a little different, and they have basically the same kind of things, but it's just all different than Sam's. You know, we've been looking at Sam's for years, so now it's just.
I know, I'm so used to it, but I know people that drive to Atlanta once a month just to go to Costco.
Yeah, and I won't drive to Atlanta for that.
I won't drive to Atlanta for that.
Yeah, I bought anything. But you can call the head office, the corporate office, at 425-313-8100 and push 0 for the operator, and let them know that you and your friends and your family and everybody wants Costco in Warner Robins. I think that'd be wonderful.
I think it's cool that Mayor Toms is doing this and is letting people get involved in the process. It'll be interesting to see how that works out.
And if people follow his lead.
So the other thing that I had in my inbox this week was a Sam's deal where you could get a free $45 gift card at your local Sam's Club if you sign up for the $5 membership. And so I went back to confirm this morning, and I go to the site where you join, and I can find this link, but it doesn't say that you're actually going to get it. So you have to call Sam's and verify that they're actually doing this get a free membership thing because it's a really good deal, and you can save a lot of money, especially if you have kids. Save a lot of money shopping there. But the other thing you can do is if you have a large business or you're part of a large business, you should contact your HR person and have them call Sam's and have Sam's Club come out, because every year when I go to Frito-Lay for their Founders Week, which we haven't been able to do for the last year, they put on a whole week for their employees, and they bring in me and the Sam's Club and all sorts of different people to offer free information and memberships to their employees. And every year, every employee gets to sign up for free.
Wow,
even though they're
awesome.
already a member, they just go back to this girl that comes every year. She was across the hall from me last year, so that's how I got my free membership the last time I was there. But she just signs people up and gives you a $45 coupon to use on the first shopping trip. So it can be a really nice thing to do for your employees. And a lot of companies, I know benefits are really expensive, and you don't really look forward to open enrollment because every year it's a power struggle over what do you do for your people and how much money do you spend and how do you offset the cost. And it's just a really tough job. But that would be like a little nice freebie that you could offer that would cost the company nothing. So.
Yeah, I'm sure you could call Sam's and find out. Send me a person.
They have a whole department that does that.
Yeah, my dad only usually signs up for Costco or Sam's memberships when he can get those benefits. And I think Costco had one where you got like a free chicken and a free piece of pizza and a free gift card. And
right.
So it makes it worthwhile. You get the membership basically paid for.
And then you can go check it out and see if you even like it or not for free.
Yeah, then you don't feel bad if you spent $40 on a membership that you never use.
And then fill up your gas tank while you're there because they have the best price around, and you can use your card, whatever, till it runs out. Anywho, so let's see here. So I had a client come in to see me. Her husband passed away, and she's older, and so she brought her son along because her son is helping her organize everything, and he's the heir, eventual heir. And so we met a few weeks ago, and it's very interesting. I'd never met these people. They were Steve's clients originally, and Steve and I both met with them. And the whole conversation was, I tried to go, we'd never met the son before, so I started going down here we're Rosenberg Financial Group, and here's what we do, and yada yada, and he just waved his arm and said, no, stop, I don't have time for this, I hear you're great, I got to get to the point, we got other places we got to go to, we have like this day carved out to go to all these places at once, so here's the bottom line, what accounts are here? And so we went through the thing, and because his dad had a spreadsheet. And so he was matching up the spreadsheet to the accounts to figure out who to even talk to help his mother transfer this money into her name. So we got that done, explained what the accounts were. He's like, okay, fine. We have to get to the bank. We got stuff to do there. So they didn't act like they wanted to change anything. And, in fact, the conversation really was, Mom's never going to use this money. This money's going to go to her heirs. And so it can be left in an aggressive portfolio. Boom. And so we're like, okay, so we start putting paperwork together, and they came back in this week, and the whole dialogue had shifted. It was like the ground under my feet was just bang, because we were all geared to do paperwork to move accounts to her that will go to him and make him beneficiary. But the whole conversation shifted, and he said, we've been talking a lot about risk tolerance. We've been talking a lot about the fact that she could live a very long time. She's in really good health. She could spend some of this money, and if we go through a big downturn, we don't want to lose a bunch. We can't afford that. So the whole dialogue had changed from aggressive to moderately conservative. And so I said, there's nothing wrong with that. So we went through the accounts. I explained what all the accounts were and what some of the returns were, and I said, let me do some research and come up with a plan, because now they're thinking they would like a 40 growth, 60 cash.
Oh, wow.
That's far
different. Yeah.
It was a big shift. And it's just interesting to see the shift that people go through when they think differently about their situation. And we see this a lot. I think you had a story.
Yeah, so
about
I had a client in yesterday, and she's in her 30s, and we went through all of her TSP and all her investments, and we were talking about the different levels of, risk and how aggressive she wanted to be, and she, hey, I've got at least 30 years left that I can be very aggressive, and I want to see my stuff grow. I want my TSP to be more aggressive, and we were talking about something. She's like, and she asked about, the different allocation mix. And then I said, well, we're going to have very different conversations at different points in your life. You're in your 30s, so there's a whole different conversation than when you get to your 50s. She wants to retire. Her goal is for her and her husband to retire about 58. And I said, when you get to like your mid-50s, your early 50s, we're going to have a different conversation. It's just like with your client, that money is going to be maybe more needed at that point. And you've really got to shift your mindset at different stages of your life. And just like that lady, thought, oh, I'll just leave it all to my kids. But she doesn't know that. She may need that money. And,
right.
And just
long-term
like we've
care.
been doing a lot of studying on people living longer and longer, and you've got to be prepared for that, because you don't want to be badly surprised when you live an extra 10 years and you don't have enough money for it.
Right. So I had a couple in this week. And it was interesting. They're going to retire in 3 years, so they're in TSP, 100% in the G fund, because they're just so scared of losing any of this money. And so we talked through their whole scenario. They're in better shape than most people. They're in great health. I mean, everything is going right. And I finally said, what if we did this? Because we talked for like 45 minutes on just every angle of this thing. What if you left the money that you've saved in the G fund, but you take the new money that you're investing in and you move that to the C fund, so that you're buying shares, and if the market goes down, you'll buy more shares because it'll be cheaper. And they like that idea. But it took us a while to figure out what they could do, because they're so, and this is just so common, the closer you get to your retirement years, the more risk averse most people become, and to the point of scared to pull the trigger. I mean, sometimes it's just like afraid. I had another one yesterday. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to go to work. He goes, I'm sick of my job, but that's a big change. It's a huge change of what are you going to do all day? You may.
And we've talked about that. People need to practice. People need to, and I was thinking about this last night. Journal. People need to journal. What is your day going to look like, and what's your retirement going to look like? Are you ready for this? Because so many people are so vibrant, and in their 60s, they think they're just ready to be done with their job. But what are they going to do for the next, 20, 30 years? If you live to 90 and you retire at 60, that's 30 years. I mean, if you've worked your whole life, you're not one of those people that's just going to sit around and, watch Jeopardy every day.
Right.
There's only so much of Jeopardy you can watch.
Yeah, so there's opportunities to volunteer. I have a lot of clients that do that. There's opportunities to teach.
Mentor.
Yeah, there's so many things that you could do. We saw one of Steve's clients a couple weeks ago, and he bakes. That is his whole thing. He retired and he bakes, and you should see the stuff this guy cranks out. And he just gives cakes. People will call him and say, I need a birthday cake for so-and-so, and he'll just go crank it out. Or I need cookies for this. Or then he brings us a big plate of cookies. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're the last people that need to be eating cookies. But I hear they were really good.
They were.
So.
I ate one.
But anyway, so...
well, I had a client in with a TSP as well this week, and we talked about, with the G Fund. Last year it was 0.57, I believe, so not even 1% that you're earning with your money in the G Fund, so you're not even keeping up with inflation.
Right.
And so those people that leave the money in the G Fund, okay, it's safe, but you're not going to grow, and you're not even keeping up with inflation. The L funds, a lot of people that come in and they're like, well, I moved out of the G Fund, I'm proud of myself, and I went to an L fund. But many people don't realize what the L funds are made up of. They do know it's a mix, and they know that it's based on whatever year's projected to retire. But my client, they were fairly young, and they're like, well, I moved out of the G Fund. I think I only have 1 or 2% in the G Fund now, so I'm being more aggressive. And we checked on the L fund. Well, they're in the L 2040 fund. And 20%, almost 21% of that is in the G Fund. And they did not realize it. And I said, that's fine if that's where you want to be.
And you can make up your own allocation.
Right. You can do whatever you want. You don't need to do the L funds, but realize where you're at. And so, and 25% is in the I, which is international. And some people don't want to be in international. So almost half of it is in the I and the G, and they didn't even realize it because being in the L fund. So come and visit us. We have the breakdowns. We can go through all of that with you. We'd be happy to. TSP is a great program, and I don't think you recommend people to switch out of it unless, they're really ready to, and it's not like we're going to try and get you to bring all your money to us because we love TSP, but we want to help you make the most out of it, especially if you do have several years to contribute and to grow your investment. We want to make sure that you're doing exactly what you need to do, not necessarily what we think to do, but do you actually know what you're doing with those L funds? Because she was really surprised, the client, she's like, I have 20% in the G still? I'm like, yeah, because of the L fund.
Wow. See, this is really good. This is a really good conversation, and I'll add one more thing to it before we switch gears. So our son went to mechanic school, worked in an auto shop in Nashville for a year, and then decided he couldn't get anywhere with that, and so he came back down to Warner Robins and joined the National Guard and was a mechanic on the base. And about 3 months into his job, we were talking on the phone, and I said, hey, did you sign up for the TSP? And he goes, oh, yeah, I did. And I said, what fund are you in? He said, I'm in the G Fund because everyone I work with tells me that the world's coming to an end pretty soon, and they're terrified. I said, Preston, you're 21. You're 21.
Goodness.
Switch today. Will you promise me you will go in on your phone, log in, and switch to the C Fund? And we'll talk about it more later, but you cannot be in that fund at 21. And so the people, this is the other thing, is you take advice from people that you work with that are surrounding you, and you do whatever they do, and it could be something totally wrong for you.
Right. You don't know where they got their information, and you don't know what their situation is.
Yes.
Maybe they can have millions of dollars, and they can sit in the G Fund, and they're comfortable with that, but that may not be right for you. Maybe you need yours to grow.
Yeah, so give us a call, 478-922-8100. Check us out on the internet. RetireRelax.com is the website. Lots of special reports if you're getting ready to retire, trying to figure out when to take Social Security. All of that stuff is on our website, and again, you can email either me or Becca, Sherri, Sherri, at rfmoney.com, or Becca, Becca, at rfmoney.com, and ask us questions, call us, or have us make an appointment to come see us. But this is all good stuff. Let me see here. Question from a client this week, self-employment and taking Social Security. So this is a good article because he's making more. If he applies now and he's under full retirement age and he continues making what he's making, his Social Security benefits are going to be reduced. And I was curious how the IRS finds this information out if you don't run payroll on yourself. Payroll is one thing. W-2 is one thing. But if you're paying yourself out of a LLC, so I found this article. It's from a law firm. If you're self-employed and you claim early retirement benefits from Social Security anytime between age 62 and your full retirement age, your benefits may be reduced if you're performing substantial services, even if you're not making income over the allowed limit. I have never heard of this.
I had never heard of this
in
either.
My life.
No.
For the year 2021, this limit on earned income is $18,960. So for somebody who has a regular job, if you, let's say you retire and you're going to and take Social Security, you're under full retirement age and you want to work part-time, you've got to make sure that you earn less than $18,960 of W-2 pay to continue getting your full Social Security benefit. And I've had a number of clients do this, and the one that was probably the best, I had a client His wife passed away. It was very tragic. She passed away, but he went ahead and took survivor benefits and went part-time on his job. And so he was able to take survivor benefits, work part-time, and kept his income below this, and that has to be divided by 12. That's a monthly amount. It's not total up to a year, because if he went over on a month, his Social Security check went down. I was shocked that they were that organized.
Well, yeah, that's when I was reading this article, and we've had these discussions. How are they really monitoring it? I mean, they're so slammed and so behind.
I know.
It's like, can they really keep up? And, you know, the article kind of states some of it's self-reporting. And so, you know, some people aren't reporting.
Yeah, but you don't
right.
want to break the law.
No,
I mean, no,
not at all.
But anyways, $18,960 divided by 12. That's how much you can earn monthly without having your benefit reduced for that period. The reason Social Security has a special rule for small business owners is that some people with their own businesses try to get around their income limit by continuing to work and paying a relative instead of themselves, or by continuing to run the business but being paid only for reduced work time to stay under the limit. I'm not going to get into this whole test for substantial services. It is mind-numbing, and your head's going to want to blow up, or your eyes are going to go shut, or you're going to turn the radio off, which would be the worst thing. But if you want this article, if you're self-employed and you're wondering how that income would affect your Social Security, I'd be happy to email this article to you, because it is pretty interesting.
It is. You know, like she said, we hadn't really heard of this before, the substantial services. And so they do have ways to figure out, you know, okay, this is your business and you own it, and then all of a sudden you aren't making money, or all of a sudden your cousin makes all the money. Just do what's right. And, you know, if you are still making a lot of money, then don't start taking your Social Security. You don't need it anyway.
That's right.
But call us or email us. We'll send you this article. But make sure, like Sherri said, you are not breaking the law, because you don't want to end up in IRS jail. I don't know what it's like, but I'm sure it's not nice.
Right.
And they will find out eventually. You don't want to do things wrong.
All right, and you've got a next article on Social Security, too.
Yeah. So found this article called 6 Social Security Myths That Could Make or Break Your Retirement Planning. And we've talked about a lot of these, and I actually did a short video on Social Security. And like she said, if you check out our website, we've got a lot of special reports.
I forgot to mention that.
You can also link into our YouTube channel now, and we've been posting videos to that. We've got all of our radio shows on there. We've got some videos from Sherri.
I forgot to mention that.
And we're going to start putting all the WMAZ, the TV appearances that Sherri does. We're going to get those downloaded on our YouTube channel too, and have them where you can research by specific areas and different topics. But just kind of interesting, some of the Social Security myths that people you know, talk about, and we've talked about this one a lot. It's best to claim early, and so a lot of people really believe that, but
they think it's going away.
Yeah.
I had so many people apply because they think it's going away. Do you know what would happen if Social Security was abolished? Can you imagine the rioting in the streets of a bunch of old people?
We thought last year was bad.
It would be like they'd be burning down Costco. I mean, I can't imagine how bad it would be.
And they're retired, so they don't have to go to work.
Right. They've got all the time in the world to ignite things.
And they're probably going to do it a little smarter than some of the young people.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's going to be there, and just starting it early isn't going to make it more likely that you get it or don't get it. You have to claim benefits at retirement. And I don't know if we have too many people that think this, but, you know, just because you can retire from your job and you don't need to work there anymore and you get your pension or whatever, doesn't mean that you have to start taking Social Security. So it's completely separate. Most people end up taking it at the same time. But if for some reason, you know, you retired from your main job, and like Sherri read in the last article, you were still working part-time or something, you don't have to start claiming your benefits at that point.
And I want to plug in one thing I just thought of. Medicare, it is critical. When you retire at 65, it is critical that you sign up for Medicare. Now, if you're working full-time, you don't have to. You can delay it. But if you're retiring and you're 65, you must sign up. If you do not, there is a 10% penalty added to what you pay every year for the years you don't sign up. It's a bad thing.
And start early, because it takes a little while.
Right.
My marital status doesn't matter. Your marital status should play a big role when you decide to take benefits, and we've talked about this one too. If you're married, starting benefits early could reduce your potential spousal or survivor benefits. So you want to make sure that you consider all those things when you're deciding when to take Social Security. You can figure this out on your own. This is kind of shocking. The difference between a good and bad claiming decision can mean a difference of $250,000 in lifetime benefits for a single person. So a shortfall worth thousands of dollars can come from just moving a couple of assumptions regarding your retirement. So make sure that you talk to somebody. We'll be happy to go through this with you and talk about what makes sense for you and financially what makes the most sense. But if you listen to your friends or your neighbors or, somebody down the street that did it one way, that may not be the right way for you.
Right. There's all sorts of things to consider, your income, everything. And so go to ssa.gov and click on My Social Security. You create a username and a password. You have to jump through some hoops, but it took me maybe 5 minutes to do it and to go in and to see my statement, because they're not mailing statements out every year. And so if you need to see what your benefits are going to be at 62, full retirement age, and 70, that's where you go to do that.
And don't assume it's always right. You want to check over that record, make sure that they've got all of your reporting correctly. And if you do change your mind, you have up to 1 year to change your selection. So if you do decide to take Social Security and then something comes up and you
get a better
change your
job,
mind,
get another job. I've had people go through that. Yep.
You have 1 year to change your mind. It's only that one time, and you can back out of it. So some interesting things.
Very good. It's a big deal, and the decision is a big deal. And you have to coordinate it with all the other big decisions you're making, which is part of why people get kind of overwhelmed with the whole
That's why they
retirement.
need to come see us.
Yes, they do. So I had someone ask me this week about the estate tax exemption is expiring and what should they be doing differently. Well, the estate tax exemption right now is $11.7 million in 20. I just wrote that on here. Why is that not on here?
It's the end of 2025.
Yeah,
end. So.
January 2026, it goes back to $5 million. This was kind of a crummy article. There wasn't much on here. So anyways, you can gift. You can gift now, and it's not counted against. I mean, all it does is reduce your lifetime exemption. So if you gave away $1 million this year, which I do have people that are doing things like that because they have more money than they're going to need, and they're letting the kids have it now. You can do that, and that just decreases your lifetime exemption. But even though they are going, so one of the concerns on the internet that I was reading is if they go, let's say you had already given away $10 million, which I doubt that we have many people that have done that, but they reduced the estate tax exemption from $11.7 million to $5 in 2026. People are worried about the IRS coming after them because they've already given away more than the exempt allowable. But that it's a resetting of the number, and so you can give away up to $11.7 million until January 1 of 2026, and if you start giving away on that date, then you're limited to the $5 million. And I don't know how they're going to coordinate people that have already given. I guess the IRS is going to have to figure that out and go look at who's already done what. That's a whole nother nightmare.
Right, because if you've already given your $11 million and then 2026 comes around, you're not going to be able to do another $5 million.
Right.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. But I know with everything they've talked about in Biden's plans and stuff, he's talked about cutting it back sooner.
$3.5 million.
And everybody's been worried about them doing like a clawback.
Yeah.
So
that's not going to happen.
This article said it's not going to happen, and it was a little bit older articles from October, so who knows what all's happening this year. But we haven't heard anything that they've actually going to make any changes. So we're holding tight to the 2025. Get your money out there and give it away before then.
So make sure you file a gift tax return when the year that you gift anything over $15,000. $15,000, you don't have to do anything. Anything over that amount, you have to file a gift tax return because they track this, and that would be really important to do. You don't want to gift and then somehow that shows up somewhere and you haven't filed it on your tax return, and I don't know what happens with that.
You probably have to pay taxes and fines and all sorts of stuff, so don't
penalties,
do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
So have you ever watched Bar Rescue, the TV show?
Okay. No.
Did you ever watch Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares?
I think I saw it once or twice.
Okay, we were hooked on it for years. So we were hooked on Gordon. We love Gordon Ramsay, even though he's very crass and he has a potty mouth. He knows what he's doing, and he's extremely successful, and he's extremely hard on people, even his own children. He is so hard on them, and he throws down on them if they do something stupid. And it's just blunt, extremely blunt. Well, John Taffer is not as blunt as Gordon Ramsay, but the show is very similar. And that he would drive up in his SUV with his guys, his team, and sit outside a bar / restaurant, and then he would send in a mole that had an audio mic on. And the mole would go in and sit at the bar, order a drink and something to eat, and then talk to them, and they would listen to him explain what he was experiencing while he was in there. Filthy countertops. One of them, they had liquor bottles, and he took a picture with his camera. There were bugs swimming around in the liquor bottles.
Oh my gosh, that's disgusting.
Cockroaches on the floor, dead flies, and then the food comes out, and he walks to the bathroom to see what the bathroom's like and looks in the kitchen and sees how filthy it is. And, I mean, just extremely bad cases. I guess people must have reported to him or something to find these horrible places, because I've never seen any place as bad as where they would go, either the Kitchen Nightmares or the Bar Rescue. But anyways, and so then he goes in there and throws down on them and kicks everybody out and brings in a cleaning team and figures out how to make it profitable and clean and healthy and all that kind of stuff. So I had an interview with Fox this week. This is John Taffer of Bar Rescue. about technology and how it will solve the worker shortage facing the restaurant industry today. And he said he recently visited a Westin hotel where his room service waiter was a robot. He said, so in a hotel of that size, that eliminates 6, 7, or 8 employees. And I don't understand that, when it takes one person to drag your tray to your room. I don't understand, and I guess I don't know how you tip a robot. I guess
I read some articles that you don't have to tip them. Because they're a robot. You know, they don't have a family to feed, so we don't have to tip them. That's even better.
He says, we're looking at cooking technologies which are now eliminating another 1 or 2 employees. We've got to find solutions. So automation, computerization, robotics, all these things are going to play very, very heavily. Taffer, who's been part of the food industry for decades, said the automation trend gained momentum 2.5 years ago. He said, we have 60% less back-of-the-house employees because of technology. So I was talking to a client. This is fascinating to me. I have a client. She's retired, but a friend runs a restaurant in Warner Robins and said, would you come and work for me a couple days a week? And so she does. And the last time we met, she was telling me she said, we don't have cooks anymore. I said, what are you talking about? And she said, yeah, they let them go because we don't need them. Anybody can cook now.
Wow.
I said, how is this possible? She said, conveyor belts. She said, somebody orders a steak. You take it out of the refrigerator, you put it on a plate. You stick it on the conveyor belt, and you hit the button steak, and then you hit the button medium, and then you hit the button go. And it goes down the conveyor belt, and the machine cooks it, and it comes out the other end, and you throw a potato on the plate and a side of whatever, and you deliver it to the person, and it's perfectly prepared.
Wow.
So that's the first I had heard of this. And now the one that I've been listening to or hearing about for 10 years is Flippy the robot. And it was so expensive, nobody could afford it. But they were talking about it replacing people that flip hamburgers 10 years ago. But it was like $300,000 or something to buy this robot. Well, the guy that creates Flippy the robot, or that makes Flippy the robot, he says now it can perform 19 functions in a kitchen at a fast food restaurant, and it costs $30,000, which is the equivalent of a $15 an hour employee.
Wow.
And it explained in that article, and I wish I had printed it out, it was a couple of months ago, that it can handle the fry station, and it is synced into the ordering system. So when the order for the whole meal comes in, it syncs when the fries are done to when the burger comes out of the conveyor belt or whoever's doing that now. I mean, it is just
That's
really
a lot better than how it is now. 'Cause sometimes, you have to wait extra long for your fries, or by the time you get your burger, the fries are cold.
Right. So this is another about restaurants are starting to hire robots instead of people who are demanding higher pay. Just 10% of job seekers are urgently looking for openings. Enter the QR code. This technology, which allows a short-staffed restaurant to save on having a person physically bring a menu to a diner's table, is the canary in the coal mine of automation. And I've been to a number of restaurants where you do that. They don't give you, but they still come and take your order.
Yeah, like with COVID, it seems like they were doing away with all the menus, or they didn't want to have to wipe them down every time, or they give you paper throw away. But a lot of them will have like a little
code stuck to the table,
or on a little placard, and you can just take the picture or whatever, and you get the whole menu up. But yeah, like you said, then they still come to the table and take your order.
So firms like McDonald's are struggling to contend with the national labor shortage. Cracker Barrel rolled out a mobile app that lets customers pay for meals, which is smart. McDonald's started testing automated drive-through ordering at 10 Chicago locations, and Dave & Buster's plans to expand its contactless ordering. Let me see. The new technology is on the flip side, because everybody worries about all these jobs going away. It says at the bottom, the flip side is new technology is invented by humans, after all, and it could be put to use making people's jobs better instead of worse. And the people that are going to invent all of this stuff and run all of this stuff are going to have to be higher level people. I mean, so you're going to have an education to run this machinery and to repair it. Mm-hmm. Imagine that. Imagine your robot goes down and you can't make any fries and you have no employees. I mean, you've got to have contingencies.
Would that be funny? They're in the back and all the people are like, we don't know how to make French fries. We can't do that.
We've never
Flippy
done that
always
before.
did it for us. Olive Garden, we were there a few weeks ago, and they had the little looked like a little tablet at your table, and you could go in and you would pick. And I think it may be the Darden restaurants, because they did it at Red Lobster too. And at Red Lobster we had a big group of people, and so you would go through the items and like push the arrow and pick it to the other side, so you could pick what you ordered, and then you would pay for that.
And just pass the tablet around.
Mm-hmm.
So you picked the thing you wanted and you paid for it all in one fell swoop.
Well, you pick the waiter actually came and took our order, but at the end of it, you're picking what you actually had on it, and you pay for that.
Okay.
So you could like just pick, one or two things and leave it for the rest of the people.
I only had some French fries. So at the front counter kiosks are replacing staff. This is already widespread at Panera and McDonald's. Plus, and I've been hearing this for years, so Wendy's was in Asia. They were experimenting with a Siri instead of a person in the drive-through window because they can use the algorithms to figure out if somebody orders a small fry and a burger, they typically also order X. And so you can program this Siri that if somebody orders this and this, upsell them to another one of these, and you can program it, and then their sales went through the roof because the people in the window are so frazzled because of the line. They're having a hard time putting the order in, let alone saying, hey, you want fries with that or something? Whereas the Siri, I mean, that absolutely is going to happen because it's already happening, and it's more profitable, so it's going to drive the change.
I have ordered at McDonald's, like the screen. You walk in and there's big, tall screens, and you pick. And like, it just said where it can pop up and show you a picture of like a summer chiller or a drink or something. Like, do you want to add this?
Yes.
And then you stare at it and you're like, well, maybe. And it is a lot better than someone going, do you want fries with that? Or do you want to try our new blah, blah today?
Right.
And so you see the picture of it, and then it's
That's
automated.
very effective.
Yeah, very good.
So in Boston, 4 MIT-trained engineers, I'm flipping around in this thing, have developed what they say is the world's first restaurant featuring a robotic kitchen that cooks complex meals. The restaurant features bowls with chopped ingredients, 7 robotic woks, combine and cook prepared ingredients for each order, and a human who's the manager adds cold garnishes, and then they probably have one server or something.
Wouldn't you want to see that? That sounded so interesting.
I know, it sounds really interesting. But anyways, and then this trucking thing. Someone was telling me this other day, and I didn't believe this. I thought we had too many people that were trained as truck drivers, and they were telling me, no, there's a severe shortage, and this is agreeing with that. The CEO of the American Trucking Association put the current shortage at 50,000 drivers. If these trends continue, he said the shortage could hit over 150,000 in a decade. At Frito-Lay, the truck drivers could make 100,000 a year. Why is there a shortage? Probably because people just can't stand sitting like that. I mean, I couldn't do it. I could not. I can't be on a freeway all day. I would flip out.
When trying to stay awake and alert.
Oh, my gosh. But you can go to a community college right here and get your CDL for free and have a job right as soon as you finish. A number of pilot programs are in place with a human providing backup, including a program hauling Frigidaires along I-10 in Texas, led by a company called Embark. One potential intermediate step, platooning, in which a lead truck driven by a human is followed by a series of driverless trucks. That scares me.
But it's a great idea because I've been reading so many articles about electric vehicles and driverless vehicles, and they'll have where you can have an app, and I think it's like in Phoenix or someplace.
Yes.
And you say, "Come and pick me up."
Waymo. Yeah. Google owns Waymo, and there's a 50 square mile radius of you can get in a driverless car by your phone.
Can you imagine, like, just pick me up, and then the car shows up, and you're, like, getting in. It'd be really creepy. But I guess, there are some weird stories about Uber drivers that, like, kidnap people or something. You wouldn't have to worry about that, hopefully. But the driverless trucks could be a huge thing because, again, human fatigue, mistakes, all that.
Yeah.
But, they say a lot of them that they're testing, they'll have it where it's driverless, but then there's still a backup person in there. So it's kind of interesting thinking about like a mama duck in the big truck and then all the other trucks behind following, because there's a few things that it just doesn't account for very well, the human
like changing
aspect
lanes and people passing you on the right and you can't get off at your exit because people are passing you on the right and you have 3 trucks behind you. I would hate to be that truck driver. I don't know. If you've been on I-75 lately, I don't see how. Oh my gosh, this would have to be on some like road like they're talking about where it's only trucks. That to me would make a lot of sense in something like that. Was there anything else in here that interested you?
Oh, the delivery man. I had an interesting thought about this one. So it said, if ride-hailing services can have their robotic cars drive people around, certainly one can bring you a pizza. However, using a 30-pound vehicle to deliver a 3-pound item doesn't make as much sense, especially in urban areas. So they have this Starship. It's a 6-wheeled cooler that can only be opened by a designated recipient using a smartphone. Oh, do we have a call? Hey, good morning. You're on the air with Sherri and Becca.
Yes, good morning. I was hearing your conversation about robots and cars
that
was going to be automated.
Yes.
And my Motor Trend magazine last month said that there are 0 fully automated cars sold in the United States, meaning that even though you have a Tesla that says autopilot, that does not mean that it can self-drive. In other
right.
words, we're at level 2 of self-driving cars, and we need to be at level 5 when they're truly self-driving. They said that's 10 years away.
Oh, 10 years? Oh, good, because I'll be getting old by then.
Yeah, so
I might want one.
These people that are dying
right.
are thinking from the salespeople, they're saying, oh, yeah, it's autopilot. Just put it on autopilot. Well, it's not to that standard, where the car can do everything that a human can do.
Right.
And that's why people are dying, sleeping in their back seats of their Teslas.
Right. I would think that they would have to sign some kind of massive waiver when they bought that car, stating that they would not do that, what you just said, go to sleep in the back seat and let the car drive itself, because of the liability of Tesla. I haven't heard anything about mass lawsuits against Tesla for that, and so I would bet they really covered themselves well on that one.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the legal aspects of it, but I think a lot of people, like my daughter's boyfriend, is planning to buy a new Tesla, and I made sure to send him the article and said, hey, don't think that you can get in this and let it drive you around, because it's not up to that standard yet. So
yes. And
he still wants it, though.
And even the cars like Randy's, the SUV that we used to have, where you could they take us on a test drive, and Randy's behind the wheel, and the salesman's behind us in the back seat, and we're going around a corner on I-75 or something. He goes, take your hands off the wheel. So he takes his hands off the wheel, and the car drives around the corner because it can censor the white line. I said, that's all good and fine when you have a white line. Don't take your hands off the wheel. And the whole self-braking thing, I mean, that's all fine and good, but yeah, don't depend on that stuff. Don't sit there thinking you can be on autopilot and just out. Cruise control is one thing, but pay attention and don't go to sleep.
Yeah, leave the robots to burger flipping. That's not going to kill you.
Yes,
exactly.
I agree.
Anyway, thank you for taking my call. I just happened to park, so I'm heading out now.
Good.
Thank you for calling in. We appreciate it.
Yay. Have a great day. So, yeah, I've seen this Starship thing, and it looks really dumb because it's huge, and it's going down a sidewalk, and it's really slow, and it makes no sense to me that you would, I mean, for this to deliver, you'd have to be in a highly concentrated area of people, because how's it going to push a button to get on an elevator?
Well, that's when that article the guy was talking about, he had the robot waiter deliver his food in the hotel, and I thought, do they know how to push the buttons in the elevator? How do they get up to the different floors? And one of these articles was talking about they can't go up steps normally, so you're missing out on that. But what about you said it's pretty big, but I thought about that six-wheeled cooler thing. Theft. I mean, if somebody sees that driving down the sidewalk, are they going to try and kick it or steal it
or pry it open and get your pizza out of it? I find it real skeptical. I would think it may be inside a large company where you want lunch brought to your desk, and you could order it online, and then that cooler brings lunch to your desk, and it knows what kiosk or what cubicle you're sitting in. I could see some application like that, but
or maybe on base, like where it could deliver to the front of the building or something, where you could pick it up.
I think a drone would be a lot faster.
Yeah.
Be a lot easier, but then you'd still have the same problem. Now, the security guard thing, I thought this was very interesting because our son-in-law was a security guard at a mall one year, and that is a brutal, horrible job. He was walking 6 miles a day.
Oh, goodness.
Because you had to walk all the way around the mall multiple times a day looking for people spray painting on the building, stealing a car. You had to look at all of this stuff, and it was all outside in the sun in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, horrible.
What a great job that was. But he stuck with it because he was in school and he had to do something, and he got out of the military, and that's what he got. So, but his feet were screaming. I mean, he went through shoes like crazy because of all the walking. So this is a really good one. Better, cheaper cameras that can operate in low light are already nibbling at the role of the roaming security guard checking locks, as the locks can be electronically confirm that they're secure, so you don't even have to check the locks anymore.
And I was
thought
thinking
that was
about,
smart.
and if it's inside, I was thinking like being outside, and I was like, well, are they going to have little guns where they could shoot people? Or again, I thought,
That's
what if
on
people
the
try
next
to
page.
steal them? Yeah. And so, if they're inside, like you said, just keeping an eye and having the cameras.
Well, these are cameras on the outside, so you don't have to walk around the building, and somebody can sit at this thing and just watch all the screens, which I don't know why they don't already do that. But I guess because we didn't have low-light cameras. So now put those cameras on a moving platform that never takes a smoke break, and you could see the threat to this career. Robots from whatever company are already cruising around properties with cameras and motion sensors, and the firm even offers a version with solar panels like the Mars rover that allows extended service in remote areas such as golf courses, parks, and farms. Now, that's pretty interesting.
Well, and so many of these jobs are jobs that people complain about and don't want to do. And they're
horrible.
having a hard time, finding people to do these jobs. But now we're going to complain because the robots are taking our jobs. But you didn't want to do that job anyway.
Right. So
Crazy.
Frontline Soldiers, this is the last one. I know you guys are probably getting sick of this, but in this case, we're not forecasting the end of a job, more like the end of a role. That is a taking point, moving on foot. More like the end of a role that is taking point. Moving on foot is the lead element in a fighting force most exposed to enemy fire. The infantry will still be out in the field, but thanks to robots, they'll be able to stay out of danger longer. In concept, these robots are much like the security guards, except they can deliver deadly force. The first iterations, one is already deployed by the Israeli army, are vehicle-based with the potential to roam autonomously. A human is in the loop if force is used, though. So I guess you can fire a gun from the robot. I don't understand how that works, but you know that if the Israeli army has it, you know that we already have this stuff. Anyways.
That would be a much better idea than having to run into the fire, to be able to send a robot in.
So there's a lot of good that people are working on, a lot of problems that people want to fix and solve using technology. And so don't let it scare you. It just is going to be a big change, and we'll all change with it, and we're going to have to get our kids educated better. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking about your grandkids, or you're thinking about your grandson that's in college somewhere getting a degree in poetry, somebody needs to talk to that person and say, you know what, you might not get a job with a poetry degree, but if you were studying IT, there might be some real opportunities. And I'll throw one more thing out on this, and we can change gears. Frito-Lay, last time I was at Frito-Lay, I asked them how they were doing, and you know that they're expanding. I've mentioned it before. They're doubling the size of the plant in Hawkinsville. 120 people are going to need to be hired. The whole thing is automation and robotics, the entire plant, except for people that do manual labor type stuff. So if you're interested in a career in IT, you can go your junior and senior year of high school, you can get your pre-engineering associates and then go get with Frito-Lay and get in their 5-year apprenticeship. And they said they're having to go to the schools and beg kids to get in this program because they cannot hire enough people to run the equipment. They said if you do that and you have no student loan debt, work with them for 5 years, they will train you. They said you will have a job for the rest of your life. I tell everybody about it because so many people are concerned about their grandkids and that they're not going to be employable because of what they're studying. So just throwing it out there, people.
You know, we've been talking about all the jobs that are going to be replaced, and, you know, you said some people get really scared about it and get, worried about the future, but it said, according to a report from the World Economic Forum, 85 million jobs will be replaced by machines with AI by the end of year 2025. While that may sound like a lot, the same report states that 97 million new jobs will be created by 2025. Yes. So 97 new jobs are going to replace 85 million old jobs. And so like Sherri said, it should be change and things that are going to make you better for skilled people. You need to learn more of skills instead of just being a burger flipper. And maybe that's the part that's scary, but it seems like the jobs in hospitality and food, no one wants to do anymore anyway. So, go out and get a skill and get something that's useful.
Go to the community college and talk to a career counselor. That's what I recommend every young person do. There's only one more on here I wanted to mention, telemarketers. I forgot it's been such a change. I didn't even realize that we used to have actual people calling me on my phone and doing telemarketing. They do it, and I used to feel kind of guilty hanging up on them. We still get a lot of calls at the office of people trying to sell us stuff or trying to get us to work with them or trying to get me to leave the company and junk like that. But it's pretty easy to get rid of those people. But the unwanted sales calls by robots, whoever listens to that? Who would
like,
ever?
Hello, this is Margie. Would you? You can tell right away.
I hang up.
Yeah.
I hang up and they don't call me back. How effective can that possibly be? Unless who listens? I mean, what percentage of the population would even listen to that call?
Someone must do it, or they wouldn't keep doing it.
Right. I don't know how that even works. In the spam calls, same thing. It's just interesting. Anyways.
Well, that article that you were just in, the 15 disappearing jobs that won't exist in 2030, found that really interesting. I think we might need to keep this article and go back in like 2025 and 2030 and see, kind of compare it. But a mail carrier, and I thought about that. I was like,
people are so sick of that job.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
But think about all the people that do that job and how much money they make and their livelihood.
The pension. Here's what my concern is. When I saw that, the first thing I thought is the pension for the Postal Service is already in trouble, and they have to keep getting bailed out by the federal government because they won't right-size the company. They won't listen to the head of it, and he's saying this is not sustainable. The numbers don't make sense, and they keep. I mean, it's going to eat into their pension. It's going to eat into their benefits, and they won't change anything. And it makes no sense that we keep doing that. We keep doing mail delivery the same.
But, you know, I mean, it said in 20 years we probably won't even get paper bills anymore.
Right.
I mean, you know, our company's trying to move everybody to paperless, and pretty much any place you work with wants you to do paperless. It saves money and saves the environment. Bank tellers, you know, I know a lot of, when I worked at the bank, we'd have like one teller on a shift because there weren't that many people coming in. And then when the line would get long, we'd sit there and like talk to them about, you know, you can use the ATMs, you can go online. And so it was always encouraging people to do it themselves. And now you can do mobile deposits, you can do all that. So many of these things are going to be replaced just because it's so much easier to do it yourself, and the world will change. I think the other thing was the printing press. I mean, how many magazines or newspapers are there going to be in another 5 or 10 years?
I just canceled my last subscription because I'm burned out. It is a thing. And think about the self-checkout. You go to Kroger now, and there's one lane open, and everything else is self-checkout. And that's where everything is headed. And if you do go to Sam's with that free deal that I mentioned earlier, and you shop there, you need to download the app, and it's called Click or something like that. And Scan and Go. And you just you open the app and you hold it over your barcode on your item as you put things in your cart, and then you swipe your finger, pay with a credit card, and walk out the door. You don't stand in a line. I mean, someone has to check it on your way out, but you're not sitting in a cashier line. I don't know why they're not promoting that more heavily, because they could probably reduce cashiers by half if everybody did Scan and Go.
I don't know why I won't do it. I go to Sam's and I still want to go in the self-serve line and scan it all.
What?
And I don't know if I feel like they're going to like double check it, or I'm not going to miss anything, but I don't know. I need to do that next time I go to Sam's.
It is so easy. Every time I go through there, I tell at least 5 people about it. There'll be somebody standing in this long line, and they have 3 items. And I'm like, do you have the app? No. I said, you need to download the app, because Scan and Go, you wouldn't be in this line. You would go boom, 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 swipe your finger out the door. And they're like, really? I said, yeah, please go check it out, because you're wasting your time. Who wants to waste time standing in a line? See, that's where the problem is we're going to get really impatient. With all this automation, our patience is going to be about 0. We're going to want everything now, even worse than it already is, which is already getting pretty bad. Because my computer doesn't spool up within so many seconds. My blood pressure starts going up. Like, what is wrong? Yesterday, I couldn't. The internet I've been making was so slow. I thought I was going to lose my mind. And so we've gotten spoiled, and we're going to get even more spoiled.
Well, I know, like the Chick-fil-A, whenever I've been in the drive-thru line, they have a whole big sign that says, order ahead, and then you get in the line, you order it, and then, you know, it's supposed to just be ready for you. Like you said, we want everything instantaneously.
Yeah.
We don't want to have to wait anymore.
Yep. Anyways, I think we're almost done with the show. CT was waving his arms around a minute ago.
Yeah, I think he said 2 minutes left.
Okay. So anyways, you've been listening to Your Money on News Talk 940. Thanks so much for tuning in to us. We're here every Saturday. If you ever want to email us, email Sherri, Sherri, at rfmoney.com, or Becca, Becca, rfmoney.com. Email us with questions during the week, and we can cover them next Saturday on the show. Come see us for a complimentary consultation. We're not going to try to sell you anything. It absolutely is free, and people are always shocked at that. They're like, what do I pay you? After we spend an hour with you, we did all this talking through all this stuff, and you helped us make these decisions. But that's just the business model that Steve Rosenberg created, and that's what we do, is complimentary consultations to talk about anything financial that you want to talk about. We meet a lot of really nice people.
It's like a financial checkup. You know, the one I did yesterday was great. We went over everything, and we could talk about it and figure out why they did it, and if it makes sense, if they need to change anything. And like Sherri said, we're not going to try and sell you anything. You know, if eventually you want to work with us, we would, but we just want to help you make sure you've got everything in order and lined up.
And make the best possible decisions for your future and your family. That is a big deal.
Yeah, some changes and choices you make today can affect 20 years down the road in a good way or a bad way.
Right. So retirerelax.com is the website. How much more time, CT? How much more time? Hello?
Call the office, 478-922-8100, to schedule an appointment, and we will love to talk with you. Like Sherri said, we have a Macon office and Warner Robins office, so come meet us.
And tell them again about the website and what all they can find there.
Yeah, so there's special reports, there's videos, and then there's also, you can get into our YouTube channel and check out all our videos there.
Yay. Have a wonderful weekend and stay cool.
The views expressed on this show should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities or services mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should only be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Securities are offered through Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Rosenberg Financial Group, a registered investor advisor not affiliated with Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated. Offices are located at 2517 Moody Road, Warner Robins, and 4875 Riverside Drive, Suite 201 in Macon. Phone numbers are 922-8100 and 741-4457.
Broadcasting from the Jeff Smith Ford Studio.